TCU men's basketball, Jamie Dixon adding another big-time scorer in the transfer portal. Feels like they're done with the roster, so what is it going to look like this upcoming season? We'll talk about that and TCU baseball in the Big 12 tournament. That's all coming up next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast platform. TCU basketball continuing to do work on the transfer portal. We're going to talk about that in a second. TCU baseball potentially playing a doubleheader today. Now, if they lose this first game against Kansas, they'll be out. But I'm recording this Friday morning. They'll get underway at 9 a.m. against KU. If they win that ball game, they'll play again basically 30 minutes after the first game wraps up against Oklahoma. And if they win that, then they'll play in the title game on Saturday. One interesting wrinkle about the Big 12 tournament this year, it doesn't really matter for TCU. Well, it matters for TCU in the fact that they don't have to beat OU twice today, but it becomes a single elimination tournament in the semifinals. So it's just one and done now, even though Oklahoma is 2-0. And in past years, TCU would have to beat them twice to make the title game. That's not the case in the semifinals this year. So that's the path in front of Kirk Saarloos's club. But we're going to start with basketball today because a few days ago, the Frogs added another guard in the transfer portal, another big-time scorer, Vasean Allette from Old Dominion. Now, last season, Allette averaged 17.5 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, and 3 assists. He shot 45% from the field. Let's see what were his three-point numbers. 35% from three-point range, so a little bit less efficient. I mean, watching some highlight clips of him, the exciting thing is this is another shot creator. A lot of what he was doing was off the bounce and off the dribble. He can be a catch-and-shoot guy, but this is someone who can create his own shot. He can get to the rim. He had a nice pull-up game coming off screens, seemed to have a good feel for when to use a floater and things like that. Good ability to finish, and then also could hit mid-range jumpers, hit three-point shots, another player that seems to be able to score at all three levels of the defense, and some added shooting, which is something that I wanted the staff to prioritize, and it seems like they did going into this offseason. Now, Allette's more of a volume scorer. I mean, he's not a catch-and-shoot sniper type of guy. He's going to do his best work, creating his own shot and kind of getting in rhythm by dribbling the basketball and getting to his different spots where he wants to go. Now, if you've heard this name before, he had a really good game against TCU in their tournament against Maui. He had 25 points in that ball game. One thing I like to do when we talk about group of five guys making that jump is see how they did against Power 5 competition. Well, against TCU last year, he was fantastic. He had, I believe that wasn't his high point total of the year. He had 28 against Arkansas State, but 25 points against the Frogs. He was 8 of 13 from the field and 4 of 5 from three-point range. Now, he played against Arkansas this year. That was the only other game against a Power 5 team, and he only scored 4 points in that ball game. Old Dominion actually hung with Arkansas pretty well. The Hogs were ranked 14th in the country at the time. They kind of fell off as the year went on, but he didn't have a great night shooting the basketball against Arkansas. But he stepped in as a true freshman for Old Dominion, and he was their leading scorer. He was the second leading scorer in the Sun Belt. Now, another subplot about Vasean and his season for the Monarchs, he only played in 19 games. He started 18 of those, and that's not a full year. Did he deal with injuries? No. He was dismissed from the team before the season was over. According to interim head coach Kieran Donahue, it was for conduct unbecoming of a Monarch, and he made it pretty clear in the press conference where he said that he had no further comment on the situation. Old Dominion had a rough year. They took a lot of losses in Sun Belt play. Their coach got let go. Coach Donahue took over. I don't really know the story here. I'm not sure what happened. Obviously, I'm sure TCU did their due diligence and looked into it. Just kind of reading between the lines, he got benched. And then a couple games later, he was dismissed. So if I had to guess, he was probably frustrated. Team was struggling, wasn't handling it well. Maybe that led to him getting benched, and then he also didn't handle that situation well, and he was dismissed from the team. But I don't want to speculate too much because, as I said, I don't really have a ton of information about it. It is something to watch, though. I mean, TCU, it feels like this staff has done a really good job through the years of developing strong relationships with their players. Had the Eddie Lampkin situation a couple of years back, but other than that, I really can't think of many times where, the players and the coaches have had just real visible tension through Jamie Dixon's tenure. So hopefully this will be a good chance for Vasean to just kind of get a clean slate, start over, and do what he does best, which is score the basketball. Now, this roster construction is really interesting. They really have no returning production from last season aside from Ernest Uday, which that's not really unprecedented now in today's world of college basketball. That's just kind of how it is with the transfer portal. But this is still a lot of new pieces and new faces that are going to have to come together quickly and make this work. They're also a pretty small team. I mean, you look at the guys that they added through the portal: Frankie Collins, the point guard from Arizona State; Noah Reynolds, the guard from Wisconsin Green Bay; Brandon Wenzel, the small forward from Wyoming; RJ Jones, guard from Kansas State; Trezarian White, who is the power forward, can play the 3, can play the 4, kind of the Emmanuel Miller replacement, does a little bit of everything, was a really good scorer last year at UNC Wilmington. They also have a very talented freshman class that's coming in as well, as Ashton Simmons, the point guard from Beaumont; Malik Diallo, the center from Mount Pleasant, Utah. He stands at 6'10". David Punch from Harker Heights, who stands at 6'7", and then Micah Robinson, a 6'6" guard forward combo player from Oak Hill Academy. And originally Micah is from the DFW area. So the fascinating thing to me about this is, one, you don't have a ton of returning production. But, I mean, that in itself doesn't shock me too much, or it's not necessarily setting off a ton of alarm bells. I mean, it's going to be up to the players and the coaching staff to figure this out quickly. But that's just kind of how this rotates year in and year out now. Also, not a lot of size. I mean, behind Ernest Uday, I'm not sure who their backup center is. Malik Diallo is 6'10", but I don't know where he's at, physically. I don't know where he's at, if he's going to be ready to play right away as a freshman center. Ernest Uday also dealt with foul trouble last year. So, I mean, you don't really want him playing 35 minutes a game anyway, just because of fatigue, and his athleticism is such a big part of what he does. You want him to be able to run, rim run, and do everything that he can do defending the basket. But especially on the defensive side of the ball, how are you going to protect the rim when Uday's out of the game, when you're going with these small ball lineups? Rebounding was an issue last year. Is it going to be an issue again this year? Who's going to step in and be somebody who can get it done? Now, they are very long at the guard positions. I think the things I want to see this upcoming season, I'd love to see some of these freshmen contribute. Now, you brought in a lot of production from the portal, and I think those are going to be the main faces here. But coming off the bench, can we get some good minutes from David Punch and Micah Robinson, maybe Diallo at times, depending on what's going on with Ernest Uday, and if they add another player to potentially back him up at that center position. And then your 2 redshirt freshmen, Jace Posey and Isaiah Manning, I want to see big contributions from them as well, because it's been a while since TCU had like homegrown players that they recruited step up and kind of develop over the years. And so that would be a nice thing to see from Jamie Dixon and just this program in general. And finally, I mean, you've got a lot of transfers now that you're asking to step in at the Power 5 level and immediately be contributors. How will their game transition from where they were to playing Big 12 basketball? Jameer Nelson Jr. was a big-time fill-it-up type of scorer at Delaware, struggled with consistency at TCU, and had some great moments. Also had some games where he just really couldn't get it going, and had some tough moments as well. But I like the types of players they added. I like that this team, at least on paper, should be able to spread the floor better. And, maybe that those small ball lineups can cause some unique problems for different matchups, because it's just not going to be something that teams see on a night in and night out basis. And they've got a lot of dudes who are known for filling it up. I mean, Vasean Allette can score. That's what he does. Now, I don't know if his role is going to be like instant offense off the bench. Another fascinating thing about this is you brought in a lot of ball handlers, which I like the idea of that, because the team struggled last year with defenses that would pressure them. and that would force them to, make decisions in the pick and roll, try to split double teams, just put pressure on the ball in general. But if Frankie Collins is your starting point guard, I mean, that's really the role that Allette played at Old Dominion. Can he slide over and be a combo guard and, be someone who comes off screens and is able to hit, catch, and shoot jumpers, but also create his own offense at times? Are they going to run the offense through him? Are they going to run it more through Noah Reynolds, who's coming over from Green Bay? There's a lot of fascinating possibilities here with the different guys they have, but it seems like they've added a lot of sort of either scoring point guards or true point guards. And so I'm intrigued by how they're going to move and shake this lineup around so it makes sense once the season starts. But Vasean Allette, he's added by the TCU coaching staff. And, I mean, this team looks pretty good at the moment. I think for a group that didn't have a ton of excitement coming into the offseason, Jamie Dixon and the staff have done a good job of finding and acquiring talent, especially guys that can score and shoot the basketball. And so now it's just about forming that chemistry and getting them to a place where they're playing at a high level when the season starts. When we come back, TCU baseball fighting for their Big 12 tournament life today. We'll talk about how they got there and more here on Locked on Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. Make sure you check out FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon. They still have this great deal going on. Or if you make one $5 bet, you can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. So one $5 bet, win or lose, get up to $150 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. They also have a very safe and easy-to-use app that you can download in the App Store or Google Play. Bet on the NBA or NHL playoffs. Major League Baseball is also in full swing. There's future bets for college football and the NFL. Make sure your first bet is a winner by going to FanDuel.com/lockedon. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with their first $5 bet, win or lose. FanDuel, official betting partner of the NBA and a proud sponsor of the Locked On Network. So last time I was talking to you guys, TCU baseball was in the middle of, they were starting their game against Oklahoma in the winners bracket of the Big 12 tournament. They ended up losing that ball game. Peyton Soule, not his sharpest effort on Wednesday. He's pitching on short rest, 6 days as opposed to his usual 7. He went 5 1/3, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, walked 3, struck out 9. I mean, his stuff was electric at times. But the issue was TCU wasn't able to score. They got shut out 4-0. Braden Davis with a complete game shutout against the Frogs. Only gave up 4 hits. He didn't walk anybody. He struck out 9, and there was a lot of weak contact. I mean, Curtis Byrne, Sam Myers had a double in the first inning, and Curtis Byrne hit a rope out to left field that looked like it was going to get down and hit the base of the wall and score Myers. But Kendall Pettis made an outstanding diving catch, and that was about as close as TCU got to scoring all day long. They could not find a way to get guys around and to make it happen on Wednesday. So they fell to Oklahoma 4-0. And after that loss, they were put in the losers bracket. And so they had to take on Kansas State yesterday. And Ben Abel actually made the start for the Frogs. He went 5 innings, only gave up 1 earned run. But the big story was TCU able to get back to scoring. And they won that ball game 9-4. They scored a run in the first inning. They scored 3 runs in the second. Sam Myers had a single to left center to score somebody. Brody Green put a single through the left side to get a run in. Brody Green and Sam Myers, it's becoming pretty clear as Brody kind of gets back to full health that him being out for really the majority of the season was a big hole in this lineup, which I wouldn't have guessed that before the season, but he's just done a great job stepping back in and hitting the baseball since he got here. Sam Myers is hitting the ball well. We'll see what Chase Brunson's health looks like as postseason play gets started here shortly. But those 3 guys have been lately, I think, your most consistent hitters. I mean, it's hard to give Brunson that knock because he hasn't played a ton lately, but they've been very consistent at the plate as of late. Anthony Silva, there's signs there that maybe he's heating up, but then it kind of goes back to where he's been all season, which is inconsistency. I would love to see Curtis Byrne or Carson Bowen break out of a funk late in the year, but obviously you can't guarantee that. As far as where TCU stands now, they're 2-1 in Big 12 play in the tournament, that is. They'll take on Kansas today at 9 a.m. If they win that ball game, they'll take on Oklahoma in another elimination game at 12:30 or 30 minutes after that first game wraps up. And if they win that game, they're in the championship. So the good news is if they win 2 games today, they'll play for a Big 12 title on Saturday night. Now, Chase Hoover is getting the start this afternoon. He pitched 1 inning of relief on Wednesday. And once you get past Chase Hoover today, I'm not sure what the plan is. Ben Abelt pitched yesterday, and he was really good, but he threw 85 pitches, I believe, so he's done for the week. And, there's been a debate all year about how to use Ben properly. Is he someone you want as a starter? Is he more effective as a reliever that you can use multiple times on the weekend? It's a tough choice. You saw the benefit of having him as a starter in yesterday's game. He was fantastic. He went 5 innings. And obviously you want your best pitchers pitching the most. But I also understand, where Kirk was coming from with the idea of it's really nice to have him available for multiple days in multiple innings, in a Friday or Sunday situation out of the pen. And this is not a bullpen that's been great all year long. They're pretty thin there too. As after you get done with Chase Hoover today, I don't know who steps in and kind of takes over. Zach Coyer's pitched the last couple of days. Luis Rodriguez threw 64 pitches yesterday, so I think he's probably done. Cademan Parker threw a lot on Tuesday. So did Braden Sloan. Maybe Braden Sloan is available this afternoon, but I feel like I think he threw 54 pitches on Tuesday. So you're at that time in tournament baseball where you're starting to run out of arms. But Chase Hoover getting the nod this morning, and then just sort of go from there. If you find a way to get a victory, then you'll have somebody on the mound in the afternoon, and then you play Saturday potentially if you can win both games this morning, and then the noon game as well. But as far as postseason projections go, D1 Baseball put up their latest field of 64, and they have TCU going to the Santa Barbara Regional against UC Santa Barbara, who'll be the 1 seed, Arizona the 2, and then Wright State the 4 seed in that region. So they got them headed to the West Coast, which is kind of a change because pretty much at least the last few weeks I've seen Arkansas, College Station. UC Santa Barbara seems like a slightly more manageable 1 seed than those schools. So we'll see how it goes. I feel like they're pretty safely in the tournament. D1 doesn't have them as last 4 in or first 4 out. So I think if they bow out today, it's not the end of the world. You just kind of wait to see what happens on Monday and what their draw is going to be. And it's going to be tough because you got a lineup that's struggling or has struggled, and you've got 1 starting pitcher essentially. But we'll see how they navigate it. I mean, you got to get in the dance to have a chance. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is just find a way to get in and compete and see where you're at and hope for the best once you get there. But TCU baseball on the field this morning against Kansas, and then potentially a game against Oklahoma if they can win that game against KU with Chase Hoover on the mound. When we come back, we'll get to some audience reaction and questions to wrap up the show. It's Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team. We do it here every day. If you need tickets, maybe to the Big 12 tournament, maybe to Mavs game 3 and 4 of the Western Conference Finals after they stole game 1 and you're super excited, download the Gametime app today. You can use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Some of the things I love about the Gametime app, they got last-minute deals, last-minute tickets. So if you're not a planner or if you're just a spontaneous person who has, the opportunity to maybe get some tickets last minute, then you can use the Gametime app because even up to an hour into the event, Gametime will sell it to you. It's not just for sports. They also have got comedy shows, theater productions, whatever the case may be. It's available to you in the Gametime app. Again, that promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first order. They also make it really easy for you in that you see where your seat's going to be or what your view from your seat's going to be when you get the tickets. They got a good picture there that shows you exactly what you're looking at. And then it delivers straight to your phone. And Yeah, they make it hassle-free. There's also the fees are very straightforward. There are some fees, but they tell you what it is before you check out. So you don't go to the checkout and you're something like, oh, wait, I thought I was spending $40. Now I'm spending $70. That doesn't make any sense. No, Gametime tells you this is what you're going to pay if you buy these 4 tickets. And that's one thing that I love about the Gametime app. They're very straightforward about their fees and upfront about it. Locked On Horned Frogs, we endorse the Gametime app here. Download it today and use that promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first order. On yesterday's show, I talked about Haas Haney, the potential of redshirting him in 2024. And my point was essentially like, I don't think you should worry about redshirting him or really worry about where his eligibility is at, because in today's college football, I just feel like the transfer portal is such a prevalent part of it. You have to, if guys are talented, you have to find ways to get them on the field to make them feel like they are valued and important and a big part of the future. Now, if he's not ready, he's not ready. But if he can help you and contribute in some way, I say you don't worry about the red shirt. You just get out there and let him play. Justin McGuffey says get him on the field for 3 games or less, probably when we're up by 40 on SMU, LIU, and Stanford. Man, I'll tell you what, if they're up by 40 on all 3 of those schools, then I'll feel pretty good about where they are after the non-conference slate. Now, Long Island, yeah, hopefully there's a chance to get him some snaps. And I understand what you're getting at. You treat him like a freshman in that, okay, get him some reps and blowouts, get him opportunity to get out there and play, lead some drives against Long Island, maybe SMU if that game gets out of hand. But yeah, I mean, I love the vision for that. But I would find ways to get him more meaningful snaps, just because I think he's going to be a huge part of this team moving forward. And if you can get him involved next year, then that's a big plus. Tyler Jones says as long as Hoover is healthy, Haney should redshirt. If Hoover is injured for any period of time, Haney should get those starts. Haney is the future, not Ken Seals. You start Seals and Haney hits the portal starting in 25. Haney has Hawkins breathing down his neck, so he's going to want reps above anything else. Yeah, I mean, I think Ken Seals' role this year is going to be if there's an injury or I feel like he's your number 2. But I understand what you're saying. You want Haas to be the number 2 guy because he's the future of the program in your mind. And so if Josh Hoover goes down or something happens to him, Tyler thinks you throw Haas in there and let him get an opportunity. I feel like it all depends on, I guess, the severity of it. And kind of where you are in the season. So it's hard to project that right now. But, yeah, I mean, I think Ken Seals, though, is someone who can run this offense effectively. And I know we had a good camp, but, I mean, I get the temptation and the idea of, hey, we need to get this guy opportunities and make sure that he knows he's the dude if something happens here. Guy by the username Jet King says, let's talk about a healthy Trey Sanders, a healthy JoJo Earl, and Cam Cook. TCU has weapons on offense and defense. I'm super excited about all those guys. You know, that was kind of a interesting nugget that Sonny dropped on 365 Sports the other day where he said Trey Sanders is healthier than he's ever been. So hopefully that leads us more opportunities for him and more burst and explosiveness. And then, yeah, JoJo Earl, I mean, he started to come on as the year went on. I feel like he got more comfortable in the offense and what they're asking him to do. So hopefully there's chances for him to step up this year. And I'd like to see him involved more in special teams. I know he struggled in the opportunities he got, but I just think he can do it at a high level. And then Tommy Fisher says, no, get whatever you can out of him because the chances he stays all 4 to 5 years is not great in today's college football. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I think you find a way to get him on the field and make sure that he knows he's a big part of what you want to do moving forward. That'll do it for Locked On Horned Frogs today. Enjoy the baseball games today. We'll talk to you Monday. It's Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team. We do it here every day.